So what we are going to do this evening is to explore this a bit using a very unexpected example. And I've never done that in any satsang, speaking about what can be regarded as news, as something that is actually happening nowadays. Usually the role of satsang is to help us to step out of the stream of time and deal with the timeless. But nowadays there is actually something that I think is very interesting in terms of consciousness, something that can actually challenge the way we inquire, the way we ask, who am I? And I think also that this is a challenge that cannot be ignored, and that if we don't ignore it, it is a wonderful opportunity for deep satsang, for deep meditation. Perhaps you're already guessing what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to use the example of what is nowadays called generative AI, right? Generative AI, which is this kind of breakthrough form of artificial intelligence that has burst into our life in an overwhelming and unbelievable way. And I think that now the whole world is philosophers, scientists, historians, everyone is busy trying to understand, because everyone is sensing that we are on a threshold, that we are on the verge of something that is going to challenge humanity to the core. So we don't need to be a prophet in order to understand that this is a turning point for humanity, and that in 1, 2, 3 years life is going to be very different. So what we are encountering right now are only very early signs, very early expressions of this kind of revolution. Now, of course, we are not interested in discussing historical, scientific, or social, or even psychological ramifications of this kind of revolution. What we are interested in is understanding what this means in terms of consciousness, and what it can tell us about our own consciousness. And I think I think it's good to have this kind of presence in our life, to challenge us a bit, to tease us a bit, to ask ourselves, well, in what way are we unique? In what way are we special? In what way are we irreplaceable? Or perhaps we're not, we are replaceable after all. So the beautiful thing is that one of the places in which we are discovering that we are irreplaceable is through satsang, is through meditation. And this is why I'm just drawing on this topic to help us understand something about ourselves. So let's start with what seems to be the clearest expression of, or the clearest challenge of this kind of AI, the generative AI, and it is the fact that it seems to be able to replace human creativity, or to at least challenge it in an immense way. What does that mean? This means that at a certain point, it's not that, again, human creativity, of course, will not end, thank God, but it does mean that at a certain point we might not be able to discern what is the act, the creation of an artificial intelligence, and what is the creation of perhaps even a genius, you see. And this will begin to challenge us greatly. So we should expect that AI will be able to write brilliant essays in 1 or 2 or 3 years from now, that it will produce bestsellers that perhaps will actually buy and read, perhaps be touched by and shed tears reading these these creations. It is possible, they say, that AI will develop philosophical ideas, that it will continue the philosophical project of humankind, that it will develop spiritual doctrines, spiritual philosophy, spiritual teachings, even of dead teachers. You see, they've already started resurrecting Socrates, for instance. Suddenly Socrates is continuing his... he wasn't poisoned after all. So, and for sure, a generative AI will be able to write touching posts, right? On social media, we will cry, we will feel complete sympathy, and we will not even understand that this is just a structure of words, structure of language, that these are patterns of language that actually touch us. So this is a challenge. And why can this be, that AI can do that or will be able to do that? Because right now it's somewhat able to do that, but it's accelerating with every day. Why can it do that? This is because at the end of the day, we are, a large part of our being is actually consists of mechanical and predictable patterns. You see? Our thinking is not, we may think that it is extremely brilliant and outside the box, but actually it is imitable. It can be studied, and then it can be perpetuated. It can be developed further, and that is not impossible. Actually, everyone, all of us, including this one, become sooner or later patterns that are imitable, you see? So I give it can study my talks, my books, and then it will give satsang instead of me. And it may be a wonderful satsang, you see? I may even copy it. As soon as I stop becoming original or innovative. Or let it work instead of me, and then go to somewhere and rest, right? So it is possible, of course, that this will actually be a positive challenge, in the sense that it will push us into uncharted creative territories. You see, perhaps it will awaken some dormant possibilities in us and make us more creative than we've ever thought we could be. But it's also possible that this will not happen, that we will actually stand at a certain point in front of the realization that human creativity is, to a certain degree, replaceable or at least imitable. So this should not dishearten us, but at least make us realize or make us start questioning, well, so what's special about us? This is the point I'm trying to get to, you see? What is special about us? Why? Who needs us? Additionally, AI seems to be able to, because these are also patterns, these are also predictable patterns, it can also imitate our human emotions to a degree that, again, we will not be able to differentiate between real emotions and AI produced emotions, right? I try to experiment with this ChatGPT, and because I was curious, and then I copy pasted a certain text about it was about trauma, and then I asked it to write an emotionally engaging and personal, intimate text about this, and all of a sudden I'm getting this kind of profoundly touching, emotionally engaging text about someone who had gone through trauma and now has recovered thanks to the method and is now aspiring to help others, and it was very convincing. So this is because some of our emotions they have a certain mechanical aspect and predictable aspect, and second, many of our emotions, well, they can be imitated in a way that we cannot really know, we cannot really tell true from false. Sometimes we don't even know ourselves, right? What is real in us and what is mechanical, what is conditioned, and what is purely reactive. What is the robotic part of ourselves, right? This kind of personality that is just operating as if it were on automatic pilot mode, right? So this can be intimidating, and we have enough warnings about this new reality, this impending new reality. But what I'm inviting us to do now is to use this as a fantastic opportunity. The fantastic opportunity is to begin to ask ourselves, to wish to discover what it is that a human being possesses and an AI cannot have and cannot develop. Even though, of course, forget about the science fiction films in which everything is possible and it becomes a human-like to a scary degree. So, what is it that AI cannot do, even if it becomes at a certain point able to write poems, sometimes beautiful poems, it's embarrassing to admit, with good ideas, but perhaps write poems, but perhaps is there something that is completely irreplaceable, and then to delve together into this uniqueness, because this uniqueness is the meaning of human life. What makes it meaningful? And it seems that it doesn't necessarily lie in our creativity. I think that instead of being so afraid of this kind of change, if it is fully embraced as a challenge, then we can evolve as a result of facing this new reality. We can actually use it as a source of awakening. Because if we don't use it, make use of this challenge as an opportunity, if we don't delve into our uniqueness and expand it, we might discover that the human beings, at least in the narrow sense as we've designed ourselves to be, are actually replaceable, because most of who we are is actually quite mechanical and consists of patterns. Because uniqueness, being unique, or this element that is unique, or elements that are unique, they have something to do with that which is not mechanical in us, and therefore is not replaceable. What is not mechanical cannot become mechanized, you see? Do you understand the point? Yes, that is one, but again, it's tricky. It's tricky. Well, let's start exploring it, because first of all, one of the most confusing things about in the discussion of AI, this new type of AI, is this illusion that we get that it has consciousness, right? Because it seems as if it can reflect on things and can respond in certain ways, as if it has thoughts and sometimes, strangely, even feelings. But then we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean, consciousness? What does consciousness mean? Because only when you understand what consciousness is, do you realize that AI cannot possess consciousness, you see? Because all that it can do is manipulate language. That's it. It can use patterns of language in order to develop language. It can create patterns of language. That's it. And the language of AI is actually completely independent from and disconnected from any experience, right? AI doesn't experience it. I can ask it, please write a mystical, poetic, a wonderful poem about sunsets. So then it will manipulate language that imitates mystical experiences, that imitates impressions and experiences, right? And then you have the poem, but you don't have the experience. you don't have the mysticism. So this is the first thing that AI doesn't have. It doesn't have experience. It has only language. And the second thing is that it exists independently and disconnectedly from consciousness. So we may read this wonderful poem, wonderfully structured poem. It will inspire us, because if we didn't know who wrote it, what wrote it, but it will not have the experience, and it will not have this profound mystical depth. This is why when you say love, this means that the experience of love, right? The tangibility of love, the depth of love. Because for us, human beings, when we use language, why do we use language? It is in order to put into words that which we experience, right? For example, you stand in front of a sunset and you gaze the glory, and you have this kind of profound feeling and this poetic depth, and it's elusive. You don't know what to do with it, but then you are driven to put it into words. So you use language, we use language only to represent experiences.
So then AI also has no appreciation?
Yes. Perhaps we can, I will just complete the idea, and then I will have plenty of time for questions and for... So then the question is what is consciousness again? So we have this kind of consciousness, and that seems to now appear in this form of creation. But what is consciousness really? Because, and this is, I think, the greatest miracle, and that is what we can call we can call it self-consciousness or self-reflective consciousness. What does it mean, self-reflective consciousness? Self-reflective consciousness, it means that it's reflective. So this means that right now you are it's like a double consciousness. It's like we are alive right now, right? We are alive. Yes? How do you know you are alive? Because you have another layer that is aware of the fact that you are alive, right? You're not just alive like as any other sentient beings. You have in a way like a view from the outside, right? You can look at it and think, well, hey, I'm alive. I know that I am alive. I can think thoughts about the fact that I am alive. And it's like there is, in a way, a strange duality, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That we are two. It's like, I'm alive. I am this life, this body, this thing, this and the experiences. But I also have this kind of you. And this, as far as we can tell, I'm cautious, as far as we can tell, we are the only creature that actually has it. And that's a miracle. We don't even know how we have it. But this is the most fundamental thing about human beings that actually causes us a great deal of misery. Because we don't know what to do with it. and we will talk about it. But it is also a great. This is also the source of our greatest enlightenment, as the source of our greatest, the greatest thing about human beings. So this kind of consciousness is what separates us, or seems to separate. Perhaps one day we'll discover that, I don't know, there are some mushrooms out there in the forest that have a self-reflective consciousness. I don't know. But they don't seem to write books and to develop all kinds of things that express self-reflective consciousness. But I'm just being cautious. So, but it does seem to be what separates human beings from the rest of nature, for good and worse, right? And as it is, this kind of ability is like a miracle. And it's also a riddle. You notice that we started with this meditation, right? Because what we did in this meditation was to look back into our attention, into our awareness, this kind of self-reflective capacity, this view, and we were looking into it with wonderment, into the mystery that we are. So this consciousness enables us to have like an outside view, right? We can look. There is an American philosopher, a great American philosopher called Thomas Nagel, and he calls it the view from nowhere. I love it, the view from nowhere. It's like that we can go through life, for instance, our routine, our crazy routine sometimes, and with all its limitations, but there is also this kind of inner gaze that is completely outside of the stream and looks at the stream. So this awareness, this consciousness enables us to look at our life from the outside and from above. And actually, the very fact that we're asking what is the meaning of life is because we have this self-reflective consciousness, again, for good and or worse, you see? Because this question can be very disturbing, right? What's the point of everything? What's the point of everything that I'm doing? So this question of what is the meaning of life appears in the gap between self-reflective consciousness, between the view from nowhere and life and our experience. In the middle, we ask this question: well, what's the point? You see, and we also ask the question, who am I in this gap? So I think that what makes human beings interesting, what makes us so interesting is, and sometimes a little miserable, is this tension between life and experience and consciousness and awareness. And actually, to be a human being is to live just between these two aspects, you see? Sometimes a little stuck. So, when we say in relation to the spiritual journey, we always hear that our problem is that we lack consciousness, we are not aware enough. What does that mean? That there is no awareness, that we need to be more mindful. What does it mean? This means that actually we have become, because we are not using this self-reflective consciousness correctly, we have become the stream of thoughts, emotions, experiences, memories. You see? This means that we have completely become our life. We are inseparable. And because of that, it is as if we live in a sort of dream state. It's like we are unconscious. We are not there. We are just our experience. Nothing exists outside of it. There is no substantial presence. So this is what happens. This invaluable awareness has become completely one with the stream of life, with the stream of time. So this means that it has lost itself completely in life. That's what meditation tries to redeem, to correct, right? Because we have lost ourselves. This precious awareness, we want to retrieve it, we want to highlight it, to separate it, to free it. That's liberation. So we don't live enough in the space between life and consciousness. And as a result, whatever happens in life, whatever happens to us, our history, our experiences, our parents, everything shapes, conditions, and limits this consciousness, this awareness, you see? Now, if we have traumas, we have memories, we have collective conditioning, we become it. This awareness becomes completely shaped. We've lost it, so we are the sum total of all our memories, all our fears, all our desires. That's the spiritual journey. Do you understand? It's all about starting to pull this this consciousness out of the stream of life, to begin to know it. Now, there is also one more thing that happens to us in terms of our consciousness, of this self-reflective consciousness, and this is that when we already make use of our ability to be conscious and to be self-reflectively conscious, we actually waste this ability on a psychological split. What does it mean? Because we have ourselves, our life, and we also can look at ourselves and our life, right? So now we produce some kind of me and myself, right? Do you know this feeling? This is where self-judgment comes. This is where self-hatred comes. I keep looking at myself, at my life, and I judge them because I look at them from the outside, and I think, what's wrong with me? Because I'm not only just me. Do you understand? So I develop some kind of a strange relationship with myself. So this double consciousness, this double awareness, becomes a sort of mirror inside us. A mirror through which we continuously look at ourselves. Do you know this feeling that you are too self-conscious, right? For example, imagine that right now I sat and my mind would always think, how do I look? What do they think about me? Am I sitting correct? You know, this is the type of talkative self-consciousness, right? So I'm looking at a mirror inside. This is what we call the psychological self. And we actually look at the mirror sometimes all day long. That's really exhausting. So what is this psychological self? It's like a parasite sitting on this invaluable asset, this invaluable treasure called consciousness, feeding on it. It uses awareness. You see, this capacity, it uses it as a source of energy because it doesn't have its own energy. So this is the thing. We don't know how to control, how to master our greatest capacity. We don't know what to do with this miracle, and it becomes self-destructive. So it gets out of hand, and it becomes self-consciousness in the bad and limited term of a bad sense of the word, you see? Thinking about ourselves, thinking in self-images, even hating ourselves. And actually, this kind of self-reflective consciousness is also what makes us feel eventually separate from the universe, separate from existence, right? And this is actually the suffering of being an observer. Do you understand? Because it's like in a way it feels so strange, so awkward. We are a part of the universe, right? Is it not obvious? Are we not a part of the universe? Can there be something outside life? But somehow, because of this self-reflective consciousness, we feel this kind of strange distance from life and from the universe. And why would we feel outside life? How is there can there be something that is not the universe? So it makes us feel strangers, because we look at everything and we can never fully be a part. But this is again because we don't know how to use it. Because this very self-reflective consciousness is the miracle that can make us become aware of the unity of life, can make us become aware of the nature of the universe. Our ability to watch from the outside has actually tremendous value, because it enables us to become conscious of the secret of life, conscious of our true nature. It also enables us to go beyond life, beyond time, beyond thought. Do you understand? So, don't you think we need to use it? So it's important to understand that this is what we're doing when we're meditating. We're beginning to liberate this kind of consciousness. When this is used wrongly or without understanding, it can actually make us feel extremely separate and extremely split. But when it is used correctly, it is exactly the very same power that enables us to unite. So this is what I do in meditation. And of course, this is also what the Kundalini process ultimately develops in us, frees in us. It is this ability to expand this view from nowhere, to discover what it is, to use it in order to grow our consciousness to a limitless degree, or at least, or to reveal that it is limitless. We free this consciousness from time and space. And then we begin to let it expand. Then, of course, this kind of self-reflection is no longer for the psychological self. It is for this ability to be conscious of the divine, but our divinity. That's Soham, you see? When ultimately, when this self-reflective capacity is liberated, it can say Soham, I am that. Because it is in this consciousness that is capable of completely disengaging from the stream of time, the stream of space, and space, divinity lies, our divine aspect. So the best thing to do in response to generative AI, to return to our point, is to begin to expand and grow this one thing that no AI can develop. This is this view from nowhere, this awareness. At a certain point, when this awareness becomes conscious of itself, of its own nature, this is the purpose of meditation. And you're finding yourself, that you're finding that all that you are is this awareness, this consciousness. You're releasing yourself completely from any identification. So if we want to really become realized human beings, meaningful, to live a meaningful life, this begins with that, with deepening into this capacity, liberating our consciousness, and also enhancing our ability to experience. Our ability to experience, well, based on this capacity, it is our ability to feel, our ability to be experientially poetic, our ability to experience awe, This cannot be replaced, really. Because what we are essentially is like you can say is the awareness organ of existence and the universe. This is what we are. We are here to be able to marvel at the sunset because this consciousness is needed for this exactly, or to marvel at to recognize divinity. This consciousness is awareness, it is intelligence, it is love, and it is creativity. These are its 4 qualities, divine qualities, and because these qualities are so powerful, it is actually even able to lend some of its abilities to a machine that can imitate them. You see? But self-reflective consciousness cannot be imitated by an AI. It of course it can pretend that it has it, because it can use the language, but it cannot become liberated. It cannot become enlightened. To put it simply, our brain is imitable, but not the owner of the brain. You see? So AI cannot become enlightened. It cannot discover the nature of the universe because it doesn't have consciousness. It doesn't have energetic presence. It doesn't have a subtle body of consciousness or kundalini, right? So even if our the creative and mechanical aspects of our being can be replaced, the spiritual aspects of our being cannot be imitated or replaced. There is something in us that is of course a pattern. We should be humble, you see. As I said, I am a pattern. Eventually, there are certain elements that are inherently limited and persistent, right? But with self-reflective consciousness, it can actually free us from the pattern, because thanks to it, for instance, we can actually become aware of the fact that we're automatic. Do you understand? We can be aware of our automatic reactions. This means that there is this kind of thing that can look from the outside and say, hey, that's automatic, that's robotic in me. And so if you have this self-reflective consciousness awake, you can also begin to influence the pattern. Because you're discovering that you're not only the stream of life. You're not only the stream of your memories, of your traumas, and therefore you don't have to completely become identified with it. So this is the dimension that I wish to add to our meditation, using this example, using this challenge, because this perhaps makes it clear why it is important to be able to discover who we are. And we do this first by disconnecting consciousness, our consciousness from the stream. And on the other end, but also being able to experience something that is so humanly unique. And that is the fact that we have this kind of tension between experience and consciousness. Remember, this experience and consciousness we can experience ourselves, for instance, completely unlimited in meditation, right? Completely unlimited and free, but then we open our eyes and we find ourselves again in this tiny body, with its patterns, with its conditioning, and so on and so on. So there is a certain tension, a certain gap between this consciousness that can be omniscient, omnipresent, and our other part, you see. But this is also beautiful. We shouldn't be annoyed with this fact when we open our eyes. Because this is the source of what can be regarded as the human heart. It's this kind of miraculous combination of infinite consciousness and finite existence. And we find this connecting point, the point that which connects these two aspects of ourselves here. And here it also makes sense. So if we can now just close our eyes for a moment and feel whether as a result of the attention that we've given to the root of our attention, which is awareness, whether we can feel the growth of an energy and presence of an increased awareness. Awareness has this kind of peculiar tendency to expand the more you focus on it, think about it, look into it.